Yeah, well, I think it's quite interesting as well because obviously Wales is full of countryside, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it does kind of follow on nicely.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, and every time, anytime I'm speaking to a visitor in Wales, wherever they're from, the first thing I recommend is to go to the Gower, go to Brecon, go and explore.
I've been to Snowdonia,
Yeah.
lovely part of the country.
Yeah, and it's it really is, and it's really not that far away neither, and it's the first thing I recommend. So that doesn't sound very racist, but this segment.
That's what you think.
Yeah, apparently, yeah, it's all upside down now, though, isn't it? It's what we think is the opposite. Again, like you say, well, again. But England and Wales, it's handled completely different, isn't it, when it comes to the illegal immigration? I know England, it's dealt with by Circle, who are still government funded. They get the money, and then they're managing the hotels that the illegal immigrants are going into. In Wales, it's different. We've got Clear Springs Ready Home Limited and SBHL, which is Stay Belvedere Hotels Limited, something like that. And the Welsh government want to do it completely different. They want to avoid hotels altogether. So they kind of do it on a reverse. They settle them first and then process them. Because when they come into Wales, it's priority housing. They get put straight to the top of the housing list and they're put into houses. And it's not just an area, it's dotted all around the country, basically. We've been investigating it in Swansea or South Wales because it's easier to travel, and having a look at the companies dealing with it, how it works, and what their sort of system, I suppose, is. And what they're doing is they're buying properties off private landlords, Airbnbs, things like that, and settling them in the communities. Now, a lot of people that we've spoken to, when we say that to people in Wales, they're like, well, isn't that better? Because if you've got a hotel, they're all in one pressure cooker, so to say, and any eruptions is going to happen. There's a lot more of them. It could be a lot worse. But the problem that we always say, and I only came to this because some of the links and the articles we're going to go through are literally 5 minutes walk from my house where these men are living. So that's what our problem's always been.
And these are illegal migrants coming into the country through who knows what route. They're just immediately put to the top of a priority list that says you get a house in some community who have no say over the matter.
Yeah, there seems to be two sets. So you've got the Ukrainian refugees.
All right.
And they're put into hotels or they're put into accommodation that is linked.
There's a reason they're put in hotels.
So the actual refugees escaping a war, they get put in the hotels.
Yeah.
And the migrants get put in houses.
Yeah. Except for now, the houses are all gone. So we had a list when Clear Springs first announced what they were doing. Well, not first announced, but we first found out what they were doing. They had a list of all the assets they own through Company's House. That's hidden now, and I wish we'd saved it. But it was 1,000 addresses just in Swansea, which is a lot. And it's like 5 in this area, 5 in that area, 5 in that area, and it's all across Swansea. Now, Wales is a nation of sanctuary. So Mark Drakeford's self-declared Wales a nation of sanctuary, where it doesn't matter who you are, why you come in, or where from, you're welcome.
Except if you're white, homeless. And,
well,
and then you can sleep on a bench.
Well, that was the thing I was about to ask. The native Welsh people who are homeless, I assume they're not getting priority housing.
No. So the country aspires to be a nation of sanctuary because they have not got the legal capacity to be a nation of sanctuary. Let's put that straight.
Yeah, it's not devolved.
No, and secondly, what it does is it has repercussions. So you fill up the private housing stock, which means people on waiting lists can't get a house because there's no housing stock there, and they've been rented out for 5 years, 7 years, whatever, to the Home Office. So you're immediately stopping people who have paid into this country all their lives, who want a house, but they can't get one because there's no housing available. They're now filling up the Airbnbs. That also has a knock-on effect because, of course, the people that they're generally putting in there don't drink, don't spend money in the local community, and so places like Tenby, Swansea, Cardiff, of course, and the tourists can't get housing or can't
Tenby, because I've been to Tenby a number of times. It's a gorgeous part of Wales. I love Tenby.
It is, and so they've had 2 years or 3 years of closed down because of COVID. There's lots of people on the brink, on the edge now, and of course, the people that are trying to the properties that are being filled up, tourists can't get because Phil.
Once again, having been to Tenby quite a few times, it seems like the sort of small town where the economy there, the local economy, will be mainly fueled by tourism.
Oh, without a doubt.
Because everything around there is a lovely little beachside town. They've got that, I forget what it's called. They've got the little castle mount on top of next to just going out of the coastline that you can get to from the beach. A beautiful, beautiful place. And if I were to try and sign up to go to a hotel there or something tomorrow, and then found out that it was full of migrants, I'd be furious.
Yeah. Well, that's where we first started really recording on the migrant situation, was in a place called Penally, which is in Tenby. And it was a little town of 800 people were having 250 male migrants dumped in an army barracks. And obviously the locals weren't happy.
Because that won't have any effect on the local culture or anything.
Well, originally it was going to be 400, didn't it?
It was going to be 400, but the locals, they did put up so much of a pressure that they did get moved. But where to? We know now they went to Swansea, Cardiff and Wrexham. So it was very NIMBY sort of attitude where, okay, they should be here, but just not here.
Yeah, that's always the thing. As soon as it's in your back garden, all of a sudden, well, it's different if it's here. Because these people, they implicitly recognise that if you import lots of foreigners into a particular area, then it will change the local culture. There will be problems that come with that. But at the same time, they don't want to be seen as racist. Oh, it'd be racist of me to say that we can't have them in the country, just not right here.
So to give you just a little bit, you've already said that Tenby's beautiful.
Yes.
Penally is just the next little village on. It's 15 minutes walk.
I've probably passed through that.
It's 50 minutes walk into Tenby, and within 4 weeks, you had Stand Up to Racism drawing the signs saying, "We want a house."
I'm sure the Socialist Workers' Party were there with all of their pre-made signs.
All those. So these pre-made signs came out. Dan questioned one and said, "I've been in prison. I don't want to be in a prison."
Yeah. This is the illegal immigrants now.
This is the sort of person that you want in the country, yeah.
We're
Ex-cons,
fleeing
brilliant.
dungeons and prisons. That's what we said, fleeing dungeons and prisons, and we just want to be left alone. Well, no,
we also want to be left alone and not invested with foreign criminals.
But I think, a part of this as well was to look into the companies very briefly, because I know obviously time limited and there's lots to fly through, but you can see why these companies are doing it with the funding that they get. So the first picture that we got here, this is SBHL, so Stay Belvedere Hotels Limited. I've marked it there 2020 for a reason, because you can see from 2017 they turn over 510,000, 2020 548,000. Not even 2 years later, it goes up to 104.8 million.
So these were basically a nothing company until this deal came about for them. Yeah, you can absolutely see why they would take this. But for me personally, if I was this company, there would be no amount of money in the world that you could give me to sell out my own country.
No, absolutely. Well, there's another little funny caveat as well, because what they do is they take hotels which are predominantly used or owned by French companies. So, it's as if the French businesses are like, right, well, we got to get them out. So let's put them in the UK versions of our hotels.
Yep.
And then we'll take the funding from these. So it's just a big circle of money, because this money, remember, is our money. This is government funded property sort of listings for SBHL. But then on the next one, which is Clear Springs, which is another sister partner of SBHL, you can see again 13 million, so a little bit more. Up to 68.7 million in 2020, and then straight up to 501.8 million within 2 years. Now that jump is, I suppose, it's any businessman's dream, isn't it? That jump.
And this is just in Wales. These are just operating in Wales.
Yeah. So this isn't England at all. And then Clear Springs have got another company called Clear Springs Management Limited, similar sort of numbers, 38 million, 7.25 million, up to 506. So you can see all of them have gone up to a ridiculous turnover just in the last 2 years. So you can see why they're doing it and where the money is going. And that goes to show, if they're having to spend that much money or turn over that much money, that's how much money's coming in. How much money's going out onto the hotels? How much money's going out daily? So they must be... We can't get the figures. You touched on it earlier on. We've tried so hard to get the figures of how many people are in Wales illegally, but they kind of bracketed it all off. So in COVID, they said that everybody came under this program called Everybody In. That included all the homeless people as well. So all the homeless people in Wales and all the illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
So what we have, you can't get. They don't store the figures. They don't know the figures.
They make it as purposefully difficult as possible for anybody to find this out, because if the true figures did come out, I covered this on the podcast the other day when I was talking with Nick Buckley and was speaking about the fact that in England alone there is probably tens of millions more people than have ever been picked up on the census. Just when you look into information like the amount of sewage outflow that's going out, the amount of food that gets bought on a daily basis, it probably shows that there's probably more like 100 million people in England alone. So in Wales, and the reason they would hide that is because if the people did know, people would be furious. Because this is all, like you said, this is all taxpayer money. I was furious enough when I found out the Swindon Borough Council is using some of my tax money to fund a migrant charity that operates locally here. They gave them £50,000 over the last tax year, which is almost as much as they were spending on maintaining local beautiful areas. And it's ridiculous because nobody voted for this. Nobody asked for this. This supposedly we live in a democracy, but this certainly isn't anything that I think anybody would vote for. I mean, even the NIMBYs that you pointed out, if you said, okay, hundreds of millions of pounds of your tax money will be going to this every year, they might even, think twice about it.
You've touched on something there. So this is what happens in Swansea Council. I won't name the spurious charity that they set up. So you get a group of migrants from a specific area. Then you get a couple of them to put their names down to become a charity or a volunteer association. And then you write up a bid and you suddenly get a gloriously painted minibus for that organisation. And also offices and also everything else that goes with it.
All pre-packaged for them.
All pre-packaged on spurious things. And this is what happened with Picton, although that's going off subject. But this is what's happening all over the country. I was remonstrating with Stand Up to Racism in Swansea a week ago, and I said that there are probably 7 million I'd like to send home. And they jumped on that because I'd said 7 million. But they don't know where I got it, where that figure comes from, because of course the Home Office say, there's only 1.2 million overstayers or whatever they call them.
Are.
Not if you look at the effluent, the sewage that goes out of the country. Not if you look at everything else and you think, well, for this size of population, we expect this size of effluent or this size, whatever it is.
Yet we're getting magnitudes higher than that.
Correct. And that's why I said 7 million. The Home Office can't clear it up. The Home Office won't clear it up. I'm sticking with 7 million.
Though, isn't it, that the councils go to rely on? So if they do need to do one of them polls like these, the racist countrysides, it'd be that group. So you're on about the Somalian Woman's Aid, aren't you? So I'll name them. So they'll go to that group then and say, we'd like your opinion on this. What do you think? And then that group will come back and say, oh yes, hideous, it's racist and everything. Then the council will go, well, we've had this expert opinion and this is racist, so we've got to change everything.
The expert opinion being the people who are representing the communities that other people might want gone. It's very biased and it's clearly set up just to basically screw over the local population.
It's complete gerrymandering because remember, it's a nation of sanctuary. 16-year-olds can vote in Wales. My daughter, who's 14, had a letter through the door. Don't forget to register to vote. She's 14. She's still in school. She hasn't done her GCSEs yet. And she's being told to vote. Absolute madness. But also the foreign nationals can vote as well. So,
all of this does sound like the kind of policies that only a child would vote for. But even then, you're not actually voting for these policies, are you, anyway?
Well, we actually put that to them, and they came back with, and this is the office of Mark Drakeford, you elected us to make these decisions. And it's like, well, no, we didn't. We elected you to make the decisions you pledged on your manifesto. And we didn't even elect you anyway. Wales, the majority of Wales didn't even vote. Just to bring it back to the point there, what the councils and the Wales Online, or Tales Online as we call them, they said that there was only 3 or 4, I think it was 4 hotels in Wales.
If you could go to the next image, please, John, so we can get that up on the screen. Is this what we're talking about?
This is it, yeah. Yep. So this is just from our website. We've got our own section, Migrant Hotels. And as you can see here, there's more than 13, but 13 of these are in Wales alone. So even the media are going out and underplaying. I know nobody watching this is going to be surprised with that at all. But they're going out and underplaying how many hotels are actually being used when we've got 13 of them here that we did, some of them we did in one day.
Yeah, I mean, we when we first broke this, the Dragon Hotel in Swansea, we actually asked the manager, we said to the manager, is it true the Home Office had taken over the hotel. Yes.
Yeah.
Is it true that? And of course, he came out with that.
What's the name of the company? And he said SPHL.
Yeah. And he came out with all this. Swansea Council went into overdrive to say he was lying.
I mean, he's the manager of the hotel. He would probably know better.
Yeah. Well,
he's the one who deals with the day-to-day.
Yeah, Swansea Council, we actually did a favour for Swansea Council on that one, I think, because we stopped it happening because they sacked the staff, they made them sign NDAs. It was a couple of weeks before Christmas, so as you can imagine, a lot of people were annoyed. A lot of people come to us and give us information, so we went and followed it up. Swansea Council got hold of that, and then that led them to challenge the Home Office to get it postponed and stopped. So it was then marketed that it was closed for refurbishment all over the busiest period of the year, Christmas holidays. All the parties were cancelled, including the councils. We went in there then when it reopened. We just walked around the whole hotel, didn't we? No refurbishment, no nothing. So it was just all one big lie, and it's an open lie to the public. And this is why we get so much flack in Wales, because obviously what goes out to the public is completely contradictory to what we are saying. Yeah. And this is from
You've been on the ground, seen it with your own eyes, filmed it in many cases.
But we're wrong.
Yeah, but obviously you're lying. You manufactured the documents. You faked all of the video footage.
Correct.
You're just lying. That's just what happens. These Voice of Wales, they're evil.
that is the narrative, yeah. But the point of this was that even though, Wales does do it differently, they're settling them in houses before even processing them, which means they're going to be staying there anyway. But my problem with it is, like I said, 3 of them were within 5 minutes walk of my house. And these headlines that we're going to flick through now.
In the next one, please, John.
I won't go through the articles because there's a lot of them, but just to show you the calibre of people that are in Wales coming in through these schemes and are living next door to you. You know, they've got neighbours. Their neighbours could be children. They're in HMOs, so home of multi-occupancy. So you could have 5 or 6 people in one house. Which can lead to big problems. But this is the calibre of people. So this is recent. This was literally the other day, just behind the council buildings. Asylum seeker threatens to burn himself alive in Swansea bedsit. He wasn't happy because of the way the Home Office have been handling his application. I'm guessing he's not getting enough money.
Well, this is a lot like there was that story that Carl and I covered a few weeks ago where a migrant who was upset that he wasn't getting enough money, upset that he wasn't getting deported soon enough, just decided to go out and stab an 18-year-old. You probably saw the same story. Yeah. And even then, he was still being put into the courts and put through all the systems before. Okay, no, hang him. Was Carl's answer. You could also just deport him in the first place. If he's so desperate to be deported, you deport them. If they want to be out of the country, let them out of the country.
Exactly that. We at Penally, which was a Ministry of Defence base at the time, they committed arson in there. Now, if you or I did that, it's a mandatory custodial sentence. With those 2, they actually gave them a community restorative order. Don't do it again, you naughty boy.
And say sorry.
Which they did, and then they were moved. So they weren't even deported. So you've got an arsonist, been in the country a couple of weeks.
They were moved so they can go cause more trouble in a different part of the country. It's complete anarcho-tyranny, I swear.
The next headline then, so there's 2 on this guy, just because of the way BBC framed this one. Swansea man jailed after CCTV operator.
Is this the average face of a Swansea man?
Yeah, and the name is a typical Welsh name, Turkey Al Turkey. You know, so... We've got funny names in Wales, but this one, it's the cream of the crop.
I feel like if I went to France and there's a typical French name, England, oh England.
Yeah. But this guy, Cumlevel Road in Brynhyfryd. So Cumlevel Road in Brynhyfryd is right next to a park. It's the biggest park in Swansea, that Brynhyfryd Manston sort of area. Cumlevel Park. All the kids go there after school, and this is where he lived. The next article I put it just because the headline does it a bit more justice from Wales Online. Man carried comatose woman onto grass in Swansea city centre and raped her whilst shot CCTV or security guards watched on CCTV. So again, nice guy. Obviously,
someone you'd want to meet your sister
to our country. Yeah, absolutely. Next one. Man threatens to blow up his boss after a row about work documents. Now, as far as I'm concerned, they shouldn't be allowed to be working. If you're a refugee, you don't get work documents. You don't get a boss. But then,
and I can understand the sentiment that he's going with here, but he shouldn't be able to make it in the first place.
No, absolutely. But further down in the article, what it says is how he attacked his housemate. So, separate to the headline, he attacked his housemate with a kitchen knife, leaving him with scars on his face. So this is the problem again with the houses of multiple occupancy, is they do bring their problems over here. We've seen it. We've seen it in Penally. We've seen it in Napier.
Yeah.
We saw it in Leicester when the Hindus and the Muslims decided to start breaking out, fighting in the street.
Yeah, over cricket, which is quite funny, wasn't it? But then, but you had the radicals then going out like that Mohammed hijab, going out, Muslim patrol out on the streets, actually goading more problems. The next one again, so all these again, like I said, are 5 minutes with it from my house. All these people are living. Stranger broke into house and snatched a toddler from mother's arms before asking for a kiss. So just to add context there, the guy, obviously his name here, Hassan Mia, lovely Welsh name. This person, they didn't know him, never recognised him, or never seen him before, walked into their house, tried to steal their child. He then was found laying naked on the floor of a pizza takeaway, pouring a bag of sugar over himself. So that's where he was arrested.
Was the baby at least all right?
Yes. So the mother and the grandmother managed to get the toddler back. So they did wrestle the baby off them. But the fact that this guy could just walk into a house, pick up a child, it's something that I would say your average, normal, sane British person, you wouldn't even consider that. Wouldn't even consider walking into someone else's house.
Where I grew up, my parents didn't have to lock the door.
Correct.
Yes.
And that should be, as far as I'm concerned, that's how it should be across all of England, all of Wales, all of Scotland. Yep. We should live in the sorts of communities where you're able to leave your door unlocked and not have to worry that anybody is going to break in. But when you get people like this coming into your community and they can just walk in and try and steal your toddler for some reason, who knows what for, then this is what leads to people leaving these places. In America, you always got all the talk about, white flight this, white flight that, gentrification, etc. The problem is that, generally speaking, when these kinds of people come into your community, you don't want to live in that community anymore. Correct. And it's even more of a tragedy if you and your family have lived there for generations.
But do you not think that this would be solved quicker if all the migrants were placed around Suella Braverman's house and Rishi Sunak's
Lil Ricky.
house? Yeah, perhaps Ricky.
That's his MC name.
Yeah, Ricky Waff Sunak. It would be sorted.
Well, certainly if you did get the get them into the backyards of the NIMBY types, perhaps then that people would change their mind. But it's the same whenever you see clips of people going for the refugee rallies, and you get the one person who decides to have a little bit of fun, goes around with the camera and goes pretends to be signing people. Oh, you want refugees? Oh, how many can you take in your house then?
Yeah.
Every single one of these inevitably middle class toff twats just turns around and goes, well, I don't have room in my house. I'd love to, but I'm in a bed sit, so I can't. I'd love to, but my spare room's full at the moment. You know, all of the excuses in the world to make it so that somebody else has to deal with it.
Except for Saint Lineker.
Oh, except for Saint Lineker.
Oh yeah, of course.
Thank God.
He took one in, a heavily vetted one, So the next one, this guy isn't a refugee, but this is a popular mosque in Cardiff that this imam preaches at.
He's a Swansea.
Swansea Mosque, was it?
Yeah, I think so.
Right, okay. So either Swansea or Cardiff, but imam raped a child in a mosque, Swansea Crown Court told. He was actually let off because he's senile now, isn't it? Yeah. He's got a bit of dementia, although there has been reports and video evidence following it that he's perfectly sane mind. He knows exactly what he's doing and where he's going.
We've actually got a bit of footage where after he's pleaded being in, he can't remember, he's got Alzheimer's, whatever he's got, he walks up to a car, leans in and shakes hands with everybody. He seems to know people in the community, and then we see him again meeting a group of people, and he knows them.
Yeah.
See, it's interesting, the types who are very anti-Christian, anti-Western religion, whenever they talk about how evil religion is, they always bring up the Catholic Church. Oh, imagine all the altar boys and such. They would never bring up anything like this, would they?
No. Well, the next one is another good one. This is another recent one. So, Cardiff not guilty verdict urged due to insanity. So what basically happened here, a mother accused of killing her son through religious fasting. So obviously it's really important that you fast, to the point that, you allow your son to die. So that's just another one that's popped up, and that's another problem. Obviously, you wouldn't get this one being called up on religious grounds. And actually, a different article that I found actually specifically says there's no need to question any religious problems here. It's nothing to do with religion, nothing to do with religion. They were fasting because of religion, but it's nothing to do with religion, nothing to see here.
Yeah.
Sort of angle.
Yeah.
The next one, this is, again, Swansea, a massive park in Swansea, close to Student Village. A cocaine dealer caught operating openly in Poplar Park. So he was just walking around this massive, Vicky Park it's called, huge park, duck pond, big, lots of children go there as well. Just walking around offering people drugs.
As you do.
Yeah.
Was this lad Albanian?
I don't think he was Albanian. Ednad Abar was part of a gang peddling Class A drugs. But what he was basically saying is that because of how difficult life has been, he had to turn to drug dealing.
Yeah.
I've heard that one before.
Yeah, and this comes on the back of the former South Wales Police Chief Constable saying that he wants to legalise Class A's and have shooting galleries. Now, he's now being promoted.
Shooting galleries in what sense?
Not as in firing squads, which is what I would like, but shooting galleries as in shooting up heroin.
Oh.
And having a nurse on scene to make sure that you're comfortable.
It's very interesting that you hear that, because Carl covered it ages ago. The Taliban, who are Muslim themselves, have a much stricter policy when it comes to Class A's and drug addicts, which is, we will put you in this hut away from drugs, we will keep an eye on you, and you will go cold turkey.
Yeah.
No matter what, we will force you to go cold turkey. So that's a very interesting difference in cultural approaches there, isn't it?
Very much so, yeah.
We'll fly through these next ones because they are in a conscious of time. But man made thousands illegally helping asylum seekers into the UK. So, another Welsh name, Mehdi Mahmood Esfajanji or whatever. So
sounds like a VD disease, that.
He does.
He's basically doing what Clear Springs were doing, but illegally. So
he's ready to get a contract from the Welsh government.
Probably.
Yeah, absolutely. Next one then, asylum seeker who raped student in Cardiff night out jailed. So, again, just goes to show these asylum seekers, it's not unusual that for some reason they like to go around touching young women, especially in Cardiff. We did a report in Cardiff around that time, actually, and it was the same. They were the young students, the female students were being followed, they were being assaulted, the houses were being broken into, and it was always and it was funny because they're all students, so they're quite wokey sort of people. They didn't want to say, oh yeah, they were slightly tanned. They were slightly tanned. Even they who were being assaulted.
It's horrifying that they've been gaslit into thinking that if you just admit the truth and recognise reality that's in front of you, that's somehow wrong, evil, racist, all of these buzzwords.
Yeah, absolutely. The next one, young refugees exploited by crime gang in Birmingham, told to deliver cocaine to Wales. Again, that's the go-to line, isn't it? So if they're caught in these farms or dealing drugs, it's because they've been people trafficked and they've been exploited. So then they just get, well, don't do it again. Come over here. We'll give you a house, stay up trouble. Next one then, Albanian who paid 22k to enter the UK was a gardener for a drugs factory in a house in a Welsh village. So again, come over to grow cannabis by the looks of it.
Who says there's no ethnics in the countryside?
There you go. They're just not registered to be here, are they? Yeah.
Seems like they're
just not going for a walk.
The next one then, failed asylum seeker became drug dealer because he's unable to work legitimately. Again, another one, well, how legitimately could you work in France? Probably not as much then. But unfortunately, you come to Wales, you're granted sanctuary, and you're able to do and please as you want. I suppose the next one then is just Mark Drakeford's solution to it all, because obviously it's such a massive problem. And I know this is something that has been brought up on this show and many others. But it is, following on from that list of what we see coming, what he wants to do is give £1,600 per month benefits to fight. As a sort of social living wage, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is this per?
So per
this
person.
is UBI.
Yeah.
Similar to what they're doing in Scotland, where they're going to be introducing the minimum income guarantee as well.
But look at that headline, and public money to fight deportation.
Yeah.
And the benefits is public money in the first place.
Yeah. And remember as well, so this £1,600 per month, that's tax-free. So they don't pay taxes on that. So that's more monthly than your average, especially because what they're saying
that's
is
more than minimum wage. That's a lot more than minimum wage. Yeah.
Well, including then they're getting their accommodation paid as well. It's going to be higher than the average wage in Wales. And this is apparently going to be aimed for, they're doing it for children coming out of care. That's how they market it. But what he means is they want to make sure these people stay, because Labour are, they've got a bit of a free run at the moment in Wales. 33% of 46% voted Labour, 50 or whatever percent, 50 or over 50% didn't even vote in Wales. So he's got full reign from getting the majority of the minority voting for him.
Yeah.
So, or the minority of the majority. Sorry.
And his hope is that people will just stay suppressed, because when you knock on doors, they say, "What's the point in voting?" And he's happy when people think that.
Yeah.
The last time he wasn't happy was in Brexit, when how many percentage turned out? 57% in Wales. We absolutely beat them down. He then bans the word Brexit.
Yeah.
This is
banned the word Brexit. I don't remember this.
Oh yeah. It's banned in Wales. It's now gone.
Yeah, what was it called? The Leave vote. That's what they call it now. But then obviously Mark Drakeford, and this is just the next article. Then Mark Drakeford slammed shameful Conservative attack. So surprisingly, the Welsh Conservatives, Andrew R.T. Davis, did call this out and say
they said something.
They said something, yeah, which is surprising, you know. And then, obviously, following that, Wales Online, they go with a headline and they run. You don't need to play the video or anything, but how he emotionally defends £1,600 a month. So what they're doing here is showing Mark Drakeford getting a bit emotional, saying about how these people have fled the most terrible places on earth, and we need to look after France. Yeah,
He's
exactly.
Chatting some bollocks.
Absolutely. But Wales Online, the reason why I included this one is because of the title, because Tales Online, we do want to start a petition with Wales Online to start every article with Once Upon a Time, because they do genuinely push a false narrative 90% of the time. They have to do the 10% just to say that, see, we are impartial, we got examples.
And the irony is, see the comment box there?
Yes.
If it's on a particular thing that they do not want you to have a comment on, they turn it off.
Yeah, of course they do. Same with YouTube comments for a lot of places.
Yeah. Absolutely. But that's, pretty much it for that segment. So, the answer is Wales is just bringing them in. Anything that the Conservatives are trying to do, Welsh Labour are trying to overturn. Keir Starmer said you should look to Wales as a model of how he would run the country. So it's kind of a little warning for anybody that is hating the Tories right now and considering voting Labour, is that sometimes it's better the devil you know.
Perhaps. I mean, I'm certainly not going to put out a kind word in favour of the Tories, but I'm not going to put a kind word out in favour of Labour either, especially after recently Keir Starmer has been putting himself forward as this sort of great white hope figure, where he came out and did an article with the bloody Daily Mail talking about how, we need to sort all this stuff with the illegal migrant boats out. It's coming from you. Coming from you, Keir. I don't believe a word out of your lying mouth. Why was it that you didn't put charges against Savile again? Sir Keir Starmer is absolutely ridiculous.
We hope you enjoyed that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters. If you did enjoy, you can go to our website and get the podcast in full for free, and also pay as little as £5 a month to get access to all of our premium content and help us keep the lights on. Series such as mine and Harry's Comics Corner, where in this episode we took a look at the first part of Berserk, that is the Black Swordsman and Golden Age arc, with the second part to come. If you'd like to find out all the rest of the content that we're putting out, you can follow us at LotusEaters_com on Twitter and on Getter. Until next time, goodbye.